Hello, good evening, and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation podcast live with me, your host, Owen James. Guys, it's a pleasure to be here on a Sunday night after a Rangers victory, after a fantastic week. Well, a fantastic week from Thursday onward, shall we say, for the club. And tonight I'm joined by two guests. That's right, two guests. First of all, by my channel co-host, Laura. Laura, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. You look really comfy there, Laura.
I'm on the floor. I'm having a problem with my phone charger, so I'm on the floor.
Now, what it is, guys, it's not a problem at all. What it is Laura's so overcome by the two great performances, two great performance in Lisbon. She's just on the floor. She just can't cope with it anymore, isn't it, Laura?
It's floored me, completely floored me.
And also we're joined by musician, talent, massive Rangers fan, Keir Mitchell. Keir, how you doing?
Good, Owen. How are you?
I'm good, mate. How's your week been?
It's been good. Obviously, a good result the other night, in my opinion, away to Benfica, and then obviously tonight is end of day. It's a win. So, as a big Rangers fan like we all are, it's been a good week. So.
Absolutely fantastic. We've got a few people. Well, I've got people in the live chat already commented. We've got Greg Donaldson and Pure Loyalist, who's always around, always commenting. Was on with the live stream with me earlier. Another tiring live stream to talking there. Keir, before we start talking all things Rangers, just sort of tell us a little bit about your music and about you. You know, you're singing at Ibrox and Edmiston House and everything. It's absolutely fascinating.
Yeah. Originally, I've played in a band for a few years now, called The Frontiers, and it started off just like doing our own music in Glasgow city centre. We done a few years ago a small tour of Scotland and things like that, and it was all our own stuff. And then we done a performance on the to open a Scottish Cup match. From a small town in East Ayrshire called Cumnock. So Cumnock were playing Dumbarton, and we were asked to open that up for the Scottish Cup programme. And thereafter, Rangers got in contact to see if we would kind of perform. And however, one of the boys, I hate to say it, in the band is a Celtic fan, so he didn't want to play at Edmiston House, which is understandable. So I asked politely if I could, do it myself, and it's started off with the kind of legend speaking nights, and then I done the open training session when Michael Beale came in, which was interesting, and then obviously played for Ibrox for the Hearts game, which was just unbelievable. So I'm really enjoying it, and as a fan, it's just amazing.
It must be amazing to stand there with your guitar and play in Ibrox in front of that crowd. It must be like almost as good as going out on that surface and actually playing the game.
Yeah, I know this might sound a bit ridiculous, but when you're playing and you hear people cheering or singing back, you do get that small flavour, or I certainly did anyway, of what it would be like to either even run out or, and as a young boy like that's all you, as cringy as it sounds, you dreamt about. So to even get a wee flavour of that was unbelievable. So something I always remember. So absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, it would be amazing. I mean, look, as a Rangers fan, I'd love to pull on the shirt and just run out there even for 5 minutes and anything to stand on that hallowed turf and run out of that tunnel to simply the best. Laura, I'm sure you're the same. You'd love to get the shirt on and go out there and run out the tunnel and run on the hallowed turf even for 5 minutes.
I would absolutely love it. And Kira, watched your videos of it. They're absolutely brilliant. So jealous.
Oh, thanks very much.
And honestly, you've got an amazing voice, and like you said, something you'll always be able to remember.
And even when I went up for the training session, I took my wee boy up and things like that. So for him to be able to watch on is brilliant. And I've got my stepbrothers and my stepdad who I got with. So I've had a season ticket since I was about 5. So for them all to come and watch, and absolutely amazing. So aye, good.
That's incredible.
Absolutely amazing. You've got to say, just to be out there with the players, Keir, as well. Did you manage to speak to any of the players or?
Yeah, when I done my sound check for the Hearts game, I decided to go with the Super Jack Butland in goal. You just picked it randomly, and I kind of turned behind myself, and he's standing watching me, which was a bit surreal. So I got a bit of a fright there, and I was like, oh my God. And then when I was in the tunnel, waiting to go out, it's wee things like that that I'm about to explain. I'm waiting in the tunnel to go out. Jack Butland comes in with Robbie McCrory, and he gave me the knuckles, and he's like, brilliant, go for it, absolutely amazing. And it's just wee things like that. Players been personal, and they don't realise how much that means to people. And for that in itself was almost just as good as playing out there. It was just so personal, something that although it's simple, you'll just always remember it.
Absolutely. Super Jack Butland. It must be utterly surreal as well, seeing him standing there watching. I don't know how I'd cope. I know Laura and I have had discussions about perhaps doing a live sometime, and just any sort of Rangers player or even ex-Rangers player, Laura, standing there watching you talking about the club or singing about the club or singing. It would be absolutely surreal, wouldn't it?
It would be, but see, for Jack Butland as well, to be standing there listening to somebody singing a song for him, that would have been amazing for Jack Butland as well. He would have loved that as well. So that's amazing.
Fantastic. Right, what, guys, we're going to talk. Obviously, we've got a lot to talk about tonight after today's game. And obviously, out there in the live chat, if you get your comments in, you get your questions in for Keir and Laura and myself, we'll get to them as soon as we can. Now, we're going to go slightly the wrong way around tonight. We're going to talk about the Benfica game, but what I'm going to do is it comes out near the end of the pod, because I'm going to kind of link it to the game upcoming on Thursday, which is our next, obviously, big game, a massive night at Ibrox again. But let's obviously touch on today's game. An interesting game against Hibernian. Never an easy place to go. And as Nick Montgomery had said, they were a different team. They were playing better football. They've had a few decent results of late. And obviously, domestically, we were coming off the back of that dreadful performance against Motherwell. Laura, start with you. What did you make of, just sort of generally, what did you make of today's game?
So the first 10-15 minutes, I wasn't really impressed with Rangers at all. I didn't see much momentum and everything, but they did come into the game and they did play really well. Hibs gave us a hard game. They did, but we got the job done. There was a few players I wasn't really happy with, a few players I was really happy with. I think Lundstrom absolutely deserved his man of the match. I thought he was brilliant. I love seeing him scoring, and I loved hearing his song getting sang again as well. But overall, I was happy with the performance today, and that's us. We're through, and I just can't wait to see who we draw.
Absolutely, Keir. What did you make of today's game? Sort of general thoughts on the match today.
Yeah, ultimately the most important thing's the result, isn't it? And it's never an easy place to go. But I'd agree with Laura. I felt the kind of first 15-20 minutes was a bit scrappy, taking us a while to find our feet. But ultimately, I think Phil's managing to get that mentality in, that they just keep grinding away, and I think the quality starts to show the more you grind a team down. And the game got a bit of excitement about it with the red cards, and obviously there's opinions on whether they should have been or not. But I think when it got to that stage, it was enjoyable to watch. I felt we should have maybe tried to go and kill the game off a little bit quicker, but then I can understand that trying to keep the ball at that stage as well is quite important. But listen, ultimately, I'm happy for Silva as well to get that goal, because I think he's needed a wee kind of bit of push for confidence as such in that aspect. So overall, really happy with it.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, a few people in the live chat commenting. Rosie, one of our mods, commenting. Hope we're all well. Question from Andy, which we're going to get to in a moment. Andy, we'll get to your question. It was a bit of a scrappy performance at times, and sometimes the way they moved the ball was a bit slow for me, a bit passive, and it was a bit sloppy, like the Motherwell game at times. When we're at our best is when we play with speed, when we play with impact. But I think one of the things that really seems to be affecting the team at the moment, not only is the lethargy from obviously, the fact that he didn't change the team from Thursday to today, which is very un-Clement-like, but the amount of injuries we have currently got, and again, looks like two more injuries today with Dujon Sterling going off with a hamstring, and then Ross McCausland, who came on as a sub, going off injured as well. Keir, do you think that I don't know whether you saw at the end of the Benfica game, Dujon Sterling had an ice pack on his hamstring. He then obviously does his hamstring in this game today. Do you think it was a game too far for Sterling today?
I think there's obviously that is a potential that, you know, it would have been good to rest him, but we've got a lot of injuries at the moment, and he's obviously, I'd imagine there'd been a conversation with the manager before whether he or Sterling himself would have been comfortable to play. And, you know, I think ultimately, I think he's brilliant for the team. I really do. I think he's an absolute workhorse. I think he does. It kind of reminds me in a way of kind of Joe Aribo. He's strong, he's powerful, he's quick, and he does a lot of the kind of work in the final third. But I think, if you know, I seen obviously with the ice pack the other day. Could we have saved him potentially? How bad's injury tonight? We don't know, but we are lacking, and it's maybe choices at sometimes. And if Sterling's said, you know, he's fit enough, then he's obviously been willing to take the risk. But we'll just need to wait and see how long he's got about for.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, Lorah, looks like a hamstring injury for Dujon Sterling from the way he went down. He managed to like hobble off, so obviously he hasn't torn it. It's probably. Well, you probably know more than me, obviously, with your medical background. But if it is a hamstring injury, you know, Lorah, do you think we should have risked him? And if he has got a hamstring strain or something like that, how long are we looking at out, do you reckon?
I was actually surprised to see him come on after seeing him going off with the ice pack the other night. I did say, you know, I'm actually surprised he's on. I thought he would have needed a wee bit more rest. But, you know, the medical team, and obviously it'll be between the medical team, Sterling himself, whether he plays or not. I don't know, I think it was maybe a wee bit of a silly move putting him on, because he could have done so much more damage, and we don't know how long we'll not see him for now. I don't know how bad the injury is, but I do think he's going to have to rest for a wee while now. I was upset to see him go back off again, but I wasn't surprised.
Absolutely, yeah, and the injuries really seem to be mounting at this moment in time. Obviously, you know, you look in the what. Obviously, Laura's favourite player, Rabbi Matondo, came back today. We'll get to Rabbi shortly, but you know, we've got obviously a lot of injuries, and it does seem to be the wide players that have been effective, and also the creative players that have been effective. I mean, you look at it in the moment, Keir. There's Seema's out, Cortez obviously is out injured, Cantwell's out injured. Now looks like McCausland, looks like obviously Sterling as well. You know, is it the one thing that worries me here going forward towards the end of the season and fighting on these three fronts as we are, is all these injuries. You know, is that something that's playing on your mind and you think could actually hamper our chances of winning a domestic treble and progressing in Europe?
Yeah, I think probably it worries every, you know, Rangers fan at this stage in the season with cup games, you know, European games, league games. They're coming thick and fast. You know, there's no many days between them. There's not a lot of time for players to rest. You're kind of depending on ultimately having players in the squad that are not prone to injury and for them to carry you through. But even, you know, it worries me in a sense of, I think when you see Roof coming on, you know, I'm not being cheeky, but I feel when I see Roof making a hard run or a tackle, you're just got it in your mind that he's going to be injured again. And I sometimes have the same kind of thought with Lawrence as well. So when you're in this kind of situation with limited numbers, and you've got two players, in my opinion, who are already kind of injury prone as such, it does worry me, and it worries me, you know, the timing of these injuries as well. You know, we've obviously got a big game next week, and thereafter in the 7th of April, as we all know about, against Celtic. So I really hope that some of the players that are out, we can get back in, but it is a big worry at the moment.
Yeah, Lorah, is that the thing that's worrying you? The amount of injuries that seem to be stacking up, particularly to those, you know, those attacking players in the wide areas, and obviously as Todd as well.
Aye, it's a massive worry. It has been for a long time at Rangers, and I completely agree with Keir. When you see Roof and Lawrence, it's like a ticking time bomb. I'm just waiting on the injury happening. I would like to be in there with the physios and everything to see what's going on. Why have we got so many injuries? Why are they so bad? Why are they taking so long for our players to get back? Is it just unlucky? We're just unlucky. But Aye, our injuries are a worry for me, definitely. And I think with Ruth and Lawrence, it'll not be long before we lose them as well. I mean, fingers crossed we don't. I don't want to jinx anything, but that's what I think every time I see them play.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Ruth especially is that ticking time bomb. And Lawrence, because I think, obviously Cantwell's out at the moment. Obviously, we don't have Yanis Hadji at the club at the moment. I know Diamande can play in that 10 role, but it's not really his natural game. The fact that I suppose Silva could, but we need him out wide because of all the wingers that are injured. It is a real, like I say, a ticking time bomb. The other one that perplexes me, Keir and Lorah, is Ryan Jack. Now, Jack comes on, plays 15, 16 minutes on Thursday night. That's the first he played it in a long time. And then he's not even on the bench today. Are we seeing the end of Ryan Jack's career? Because it just seems to me that when he plays some minutes, he then cannot play in the next game. Keir, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think I love Ryan Jack. Again, I think he's a bit like Lundstrom. He does a lot of work that sometimes doesn't get recognised. But I think he's slowly kind of slowing down, if that makes sense. I know he's not extremely old in football terms. However, he is getting to that stage where he's not going to be playing week in, week out. And to be honest, through his career, even, before he came to Rangers as well, he wasn't a player that would be like a Tav. He wasn't a player that was always in every single week. And I think Rangers, even at the time when they purchased him or when he came over, I think they knew that anyway. But obviously brings a lot of qualities that we need to steady the team. But I think it is just a matter of time before things start to kind of slow down for him, and maybe that's why he's not been in the team, tonight. You'd think, obviously, when he was playing the other night, that would be the start of him coming back again, but it's obviously just his legs are getting tired now, and we'll just need to wait and see.
Absolutely. Lorah, right, like I said, Ryan Jack, I actually, in my my video this morning, talked about the team and talked about resting Lunny, which obviously would have been a mistake because he was outstanding tonight, and we'll touch on Lunny, but right, and I had Ryan Jack in there alongside Diamande. But obviously he's not even on the bench today. And I love Ryan Jack. And if he could stay fit, and even if he could play every other game maybe, and actually play a full game, I'd love him to stay. But it does seem to me that it's kind of coming to the end of his time here because he just seems to not being able to play anything more than 15, 20 minutes.
I completely agree with that. And again, I love Ryan Jack. I don't really like saying anything bad against him, but the money we're paying for him, he's so injury prone. And I know Clement had said something along the lines, he won't be playing every game, but we will still see him. It's not enough. You can't be paying this kind of money to players who you're going to see for 15 minutes every third, fourth game. I hate to say it, but I do think Ryan Jack's time is coming to an end at Rangers. I think it has to. Absolutely,
yeah. I think unfortunately it does, and I think like I said, I'm a huge Ryan Jack fan. I think he's a great player. I think he makes others around him look better. But obviously, if he can't play, you can't be afforded paying him those wages and have him sitting in the stands every other week. It just, to me, doesn't work out. Now, there was a question in the live chat. I kind of delayed it till now because I wanted to talk about the injuries, and we kind of saw it a little bit today. I can't remember the Hibs player's name, but that tackle on Lundstrom was bordering on assault, despite Michael Stewart saying there was nothing wrong with it. Andy Smith says, do you think the injuries are down to how other teams are playing against Rangers? Now, Todd Cantwell obviously went off injured during the St Johnstone game, hasn't been back since. I know it was some sort of hamstring stroke posterior injury, but Clement did say the way he was treated in that game kind of affected it and made it worse. Lorah, do you think that our players are getting enough protection from referees? Because it does seem we lose a lot of players to impact injuries.
I seen that comment myself and I agreed with it as soon as I seen it. Like, players are so dirty against Rangers. That game the night was absolutely shocking. Like, even McCausland walking off, that guy, like, pushing him off the park, like, he's injured. Do you know? So I do think people do play dirty against Rangers. I'm not sure how many of our injuries are from them. I would probably need to look into that, but I'd imagine it's quite a few. I hate dirty play. You're going to get it in football, but we do seem to get it quite bad, don't we?
Absolutely, yeah. They seem to have this. Let's just kick them off the park. I mean, obviously there was the McCausland incident in the Motherwell game where Casey, who went on to score the winner, should have been sent off, despite what that lot across the city say. There was the foul tonight, and the game tonight was genuinely getting very niggly and very fouly. And then the St Johnstone game where They play like a bunch of pub thugs, kicking the living daylights. Keir, do you think the referees just, I don't know, they just ignore it, or they're just so bad they don't see it? And why are our players not getting any protection?
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes into my mind as well is, I think if the opposing fans or other teams that are watching Rangers, I think we are pretty frustrating to play against, because we keep the ball, we play, recently have been playing good football. There is a lot of times that McCausland, like Silva and things like that are really tricky, they're really quick on the ball. And I think towards the end, in the second half and things like that, teams are getting really frustrated. And I think that they're ultimately lashing out. But tonight, with regards to Lundstram, to hear Michael Stewart saying that wasn't a red, to me is just a bizarre comment to make. I think it's a red all day long. I think when you see the run he makes to make the challenge and where he actually starts the challenge from as well, there's no intention there to play the ball. When you look at the side clip as well, the ball is about 5 yards in front of Lundstram after he touches it in front of him, and he still comes through, and the player then travels another 5, past them in the tackle. So for me, the impact and the follow through of that is a red card all day long. But I ultimately think teams are getting frustrated. We're hard to break down, we're hard to stop, and I think the McCausland challenge, the Motherwell player the other week there, I think that was shocking, and how that's not been seen to be a red is bizarre to me. Absolutely bizarre how that's not seen.
Absolutely. I mean, as I've said on videos on this channel before, I think, the SFA, and I know this is expecting a lot of the SFA, who are solely just not fit for purpose, and the referees in this country who I wouldn't trust to referee kids' games, let alone, professional football games. If we want to develop Scottish football as a product, and heaven knows we need to, you've got to kind of have a change in attitude, changing way the games are refereed, so that those creative players, those players who are skillful, are protected. And I'm not just talking about Rangers players here, because we got lots of the teams have them, the Shanklins, the Miovskis, etc., etc. If we are to market Scottish football and get it out of this being a bit of a joke to down here south of the border, for being a Rangers fan, I get a lot of stick. People say, oh, it's a pub league and all this. But, I think the referee, something's got to be done about refereeing standards in Scotland. Keir, I mean, what's your take on the standards of refereeing in this country at the moment?
I think it's easy to sit here, as a fan and things, and say it's pretty poor, but the bottom line is it is pretty poor. I think you're not seeing that in English game, in English league. I think the difference in refereeing standards there to up here is night and day. There's just times that you actually watch clips as well. English referees seem to always be within 50 yards of play, and there's times the referees up here in Scotland, you're looking on that, and I've watched it a few times, I've deliberately looked out for it, and they're miles away from play. It's almost as if sometimes, I don't know whether they can't keep up or if it's a lack of concentration, but I mean, the difference in decision making to the English Premier League and up here is massive. Is that coming through the SFA, how they are managed, how they are doing their license, how they're doing their tickets? It's got to be, because they're obviously going through the same programme. But for me, you don't see those mistakes in England, certainly to the same extent.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, I agree. I mean, the referees are not fantastic down here, but they are a whole lot better than the Scottish game. Lorah, what's your, before we move on and talk a little bit more about the game today, what's your general thought on the standard of refereeing in Scotland?
It's totally embarrassing, and I don't just mean against Rangers. I mean in all Scottish games, the refereeing is absolutely shocking. It's an embarrassment to Scottish football. I mean, we get it tight enough as it is for being a pub league, as you're saying, and the refereeing decisions. I actually watched a video over the last year, all the bad decisions that Scottish refereeing has made. I couldn't watch it. I was embarrassed. I was mortified. The decisions are shocking. I don't know what the standards are, but I think something has to be done about it. They can't just keep refereeing like this and getting away with it. But what would be done about it? Is there anything can be done about it? I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's got to be done. One of the things I've always talked about is accountability of referees, accountability of the VAR officials, that they should be held more accountable for their decision making. As you know, as we all are at work. You know, when we go to work, if we make a mistake and we do something that's a major mistake, our bosses will hold us up for it, and will actually, you know, we'll have some consequences for that mistake we make. And I think refs do need to have a similar sort of a level of accountability, because to me they seem to get away with it no matter how bad they are. It's just, oh well, never mind, you were useless there, here, have another game, have a go at that one instead, see how you get on. And it just seems utterly ridiculous. It really does. But you know, going back to the game today, I think, you know, we touched on obviously John Lundstram, who on Thursday night, he looked exhausted, and to me was a bit sloppy on Thursday night. We'll obviously get to that, but I thought he was absolutely outstanding today. You know, the way that he followed up on that Tav penalty. I mean, I almost fainted when Tav missed the penalty. You know, his presence of mind to go in and follow that in and score that goal, and his general all-round play in terms of breaking things up, distributing the ball. He always seemed to be available today. Keir, what was your take on John Lundstram's performance today?
Yeah, I think it's the John Lundstram of old. You know, going back to that, when we got to the Europa League final, everybody talks about how well and how well he played in that season, and I think we're starting to see that again. I think for me, you know, you can be good in the ball, you can be good at passing, but I just love his passion. I love his determination, his grit. He seems to really drag some of the other players, you know, over the line sometimes, and you can see he loves to play for Rangers. You know, he absolutely loves it here, and I think everybody can notice that. Tonight, when Tav missed the penalty, I was the same one, really surprised. However, when I watched the replay and the angle, John Lundstram was that quick in that I actually thought, oh no, he went into the box here, and this is going to get, you know, too soon, and the goal's going to get chopped off. But he wasn't. He made his run absolutely perfect, and couldn't believe how quick he got to it. And I think that's the determination, the bit in him to get there first. And I think he just controlled the game. And ultimately, when he's been doing that, we've been winning games, and hopefully it continues.
Absolutely, yeah. He was lightning quick, and he was pounding the badge as well as he ran away. And Laura, first of all, a couple of things from that. Number one, what was your sort of general take on Lunny's performance today? And also, did you nearly faint when Tav missed the pen?
John Lundstram absolutely deserved his man of the match tonight. It was brilliant start to finish. His timing for after Tav's penalty was perfect. Lundstram likes to take a good shot, and it's not very often he gets on target. Like, he really has to practice it, because his shots are fantastic. They're just not often on target. So when he scores, it does make me really happy, because I love John Lundstram as a player. He's definitely one of my favourites. He might be even taking Goldson's spot soon. Tav's I was shocked at Tav missing the penalty. I was, but Lundstram scored that quick after it. The shot went away. It wasn't until I watched it back, and I'm like, how are you missing that, Tav? But it doesn't matter, because Lundstram came in and scored anyway. But it was just that quick. It just happened so quick.
Yeah, so, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, coming in, Lundstram was bossing the midfield since Clement came. He's been a fantastic player. It really is. You know, it really is since Clement's come in. We've seen a huge turnaround in the form of John Lundstram. If I think back to the start of the year when Michael Beale was the manager, Lundstram looked awful. I mean, he looked shocking. Here, he's been fantastic, obviously, since Clement's come in, and just been been a real leader on and off the park. And obviously, the talk about the new contract as well. So, you know, first of all, what's your sort of take on him since Clement's come in, and also, would you give him a new contract?
Well, I think since Clement's come in, I think the manager has a presence about him that the players want to impress him. You just get that feeling that he's maybe not quite their friend, but they know that he's there to absolutely have their back at the same time. And I think there is that fine line as a manager. I think personally that's maybe where Beale kind of failed and lost the dressing room. I feel maybe he was trying to be too many people's friend rather than a kind of old school manager, somebody that you know there is a line with. And ultimately, when there is somebody that's got that presence, you want to impress them. You know, I think that's just in every walk of life, and I think that's the personality that Lundstram specifically will feed off. With regards to his new contract, absolutely. I mean, you know, obviously, what he'll be now. If it's 30, maybe I could be wrong there, but I think it's a no-brainer. He's certainly still playing well. He's still got the legs in him. So for me, it's an absolute no-brainer to give him the contract.
Absolutely. Lorah, what's your take on Lunny since Clement's come in, and would you give him a new deal?
I mean, after the Europa League final run, I don't know what happened to him. He went right downhill. I wasn't a fan. I didn't think he had a place at Rangers anymore. Clement's come in and he's come right back into his game. Clement's he's the real deal manager. He is. He's so professional. And like you're saying, I think the players want to impress him. And Lundstram, he's just turned into that Lundstram that we've seen back then. And I'm so glad he has, and he absolutely deserves another contract. He's not the youngest player in the pitch, but he gives it 100%. He makes a massive difference to your team, and I think we need to keep him. I definitely want to see Lundstram get a new contract.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the other thing I think people have got to realise as well is, we are going down this trading model route of bringing in these young players like the Corteses, the Diamandes of this world, and obviously then hopefully flipping them for a big fee in the future. Dujon Sterling, another one. But you do need to retain that experienced core. You do need to have those senior players in your squad that when things are going wrong, when things are going well, they can get the other players together and get their arms around and say, right, we need to do this now. You need to do this. You need to stop that. You need to calm down. People that players actually listen to. And Lunny, for me, has been a real leader and someone who's done that. And I think that's obviously probably helping a lot of those younger lads in this team, like Ross McCausland, like Mohamed Diamande, for example. And we have got those young players coming through. It was nice to see Cole McKinnon get on again today. Now, one of the other players I want to touch on before we move on to talking about the Benfica game was Cyril Dessers today. Look, I've had my say on Dessers. I'm going to try and maintain pretty much a diplomatic silence on Dessers as much as I can. Now, I think at times he does plough that lone furrow and he's left isolated, etc., etc. Keir, what was your take on Dessers today?
I think that, the kind of one big chance he had, obviously, when he kind of takes the defender along the left, just the edge of the box, he manages to get in front of him. I think a lot of people would be saying, should he have hit that first time as he's getting to the edge of the box on his right foot? However, the players, he's on his back, he's chasing them down, he's done well to manage to maintain, and then he's ultimately, missed the shot with the save for Marshall. But I think that sums Dessers up, quite a bit. He seems to do the running, the turns, the hard part of the game. And then ultimately when it comes to that, putting the ball in the back of the net, 8 times out of 10, it's not happening. If you give him enough chances, as we've seen, at Hearts, he's going to score. But in this, with Rangers, you need to take every chance you can. You're not going to score all the time. But I think that's the big difference that I see with him and going back to, a prime Morelos as such. To me, Morelos would have made a goal out of nothing. And I think Dessers just is struggling to find that kind of constant goal scoring. But I think there is a player in there. I know he gets a lot of stick. I just feel that he needs a good couple of games and a bit of luck to get the ball in the back of the net, to hopefully a bit of form to stick. But, how long are we going to wait for that at the same time?
Absolutely. Lorah, before I ask you about this, there's Stephen Gillespie got appointed. Stephen says he's just worried about Lorah. He says your care in the community is coming to help you up very soon, apparently.
What? I don't get it.
Your nurse. You're what's the word?
Right. That took
me poor Lorah. She's had a fall.
I'm a bit slow.
And as building on what Keir started to say, then obviously I think obviously what Lorah we're going to talk about here. Stephen says Dessers puts in a shift, but ultimately we need more. Lorah, what was your take on Dessers today, and kind of in general as well?
I mean, it depends what week you ask me. My opinion on Dessers. I'll always say all round. He's good at the hard stuff, and he's, excuse my language, shite at the easy stuff. But I don't know about him. I can't quite put my finger on it. I don't know if I like him or not. I feel like he wastes far too many chances. He's not consistent enough. When he scores absolute world-class goals. And one day he can look like a fantastic player. The next, he's like a complete donkey on the park. The night, I wasn't overly impressed with him the night. I felt, there was a good opportunity for him to pass the ball, potentially get a goal there, but he never. Felt he was a wee bit greedy. Again, I just don't know with Dessers. Like I'm saying, it depends on what week you ask me. This week, I'm not a fan this week. I'm sorry. He's just giving away too many chances for me now.
Yeah, I think, Keir, the one thing that worries me a little bit about Dessers is that, I think he scored 12 league goals this season. I think I was looking up the stats earlier when someone was asking me on the live stream about goal scorers. And quite remarkably, Tav is actually the second top scorer in the SPFL at the moment, which is just amazing behind Shankland. But, he scored 12 goals. But the one thing that seems to worry me a little bit, Keir, is when the pressure is truly on him, like in the game at Parkhead, and a couple of other opportunities like the PSV away game, for example, he just doesn't seem to have the calmness to put that chance away. And the one thing that slightly concerns me is when we go to play them on April the 7th, it's going to be down to him probably, because I think Silva will have to be used out wide because of all the injuries. And in Europe on Thursday night against Benfica, does that worry you? Does he worry you when the pressure's on?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, ultimately, what you're looking for in a striker is someone that's going to turn up every week, and when they're on the ball, that's going to excite you and give you that feeling that ultimately he's going to score here. And for a striker, when he's on the ball, I don't get that feeling that he's going to score. I know that sounds bizarre, but as I say, I think he almost looks, although he's not, as inexperienced. There's sometimes decision making that is just absolutely terrible sometimes, when there should be a pass or there should be a shot. It's as if he gets caught in two minds. And he's obviously played, a good standard of football, obviously, previously to Rangers. So to be at this stage in your career, for your decision making should be sharp, it should be spot on. And I think that's sometimes what lets him down. But again, when he's on the pitch, he doesn't fill me with confidence. You're almost hoping he gets a bit of luck. I mean, there's a lot of his goals, as well, that have been deflected off him, and sometimes you even wonder if he's knew it's happened. So, although I'm not totally confident in him, there is something just deep down that I feel that as a player there, he just needs to show it, and that's the frustrating part. That's the bit, and ultimately, if he's not got to show it, he's not going to be here for too long.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Stephen Clark says, Dessers tries hard, one day poor, one day good. The odd time tremendous. Shankland doesn't have those kind of games. Obviously, that's in the debate about the whole Shankland thing. Lorah, does the inability to work under pressure with Dessers worry you when it comes to the Celtic game that's coming on the 7th, the Benfica game on Thursday, and hopefully games beyond that?
Mm-hmm. The high pressure games like Thursday coming up, we need to win. The Old Firm, we need to win. It worries me that he's our main striker, if you like. He's just no consistent enough, and like Keir said, when he's on the ball, you're no confident he's going to score. He might, but he probably won't. So I completely lack confidence in him being our striker in the high pressure games. But he could surprise us. He's one of you just don't know. He's so inconsistent.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, John McRitchie says here, and I think this kind of summarizes what I was thinking. I summarize what you're kind of saying there, Lorah, is he scores when you don't think he will, and when you think he will, he scores, he flops, and he does. He seems to score the hard goals, but miss the absolute sitters, and that is the worrying thing going forward. And I think I was talking. I think it was Damien I was talking to about this the other day, and I was saying that in a way, Keir, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Fashion Sakala. When he's got too much time to think, that's when he mucks it up.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes with Sakala, he was on the ball and it looked as if he didn't know what he was going to do. Sometimes with Sakala, you felt he was so quick that he was almost too quick for his mind. And again, that is what separates potentially players from the Scottish League to the the Premier League or playing for Rangers or playing for a lower kind of team. I think decision making is a major part at that level. Most players who are in the, despite what people might say, Scottish Premier League are decent players. You don't get to that standard. You don't get to those teams without being, a half decent player in general. But the difference that sets them apart and the difference that sets people from going for, a St Mirren or a Kilmarnock to then signing with a Rangers or whoever it would be, or making that move down south is decision making. And for me, Dessers extremely lacks in that. And I'd be surprised if he gets a bigger move than Rangers, with how he's currently playing. This just might, I don't even know if at this stage he's good enough for us. So I think he's found his kind of peak as such. Although I would like to see him doing well, because I can't help it. I've got a soft spot for him, because I just feel that there is. I almost feel sorry for him sometimes. I can see a player in there, but again, decision making is a massive thing.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah, he is a bit Sakala-esque when it comes to being offside and also to thinking. Lorah, do you see elements of the fashion Sakala when in Cyril Dessers?
Aye, absolutely. I'm pretty sure I've said it on here before. I think he's very like Sakala. Just the inconsistency. You've either got a world-class striker there or a complete donkey. There's no in between. And you just don't know what you're going to get. So, he's definitely another wee Sakala. And again, like Keir said, I had a really soft spot for Sakala, and I've got a soft spot for Dessers as well. I almost feel sorry for him as well. I don't know why I have a soft spot for him, but I do. But, definitely a wee Sakala.
So there's a lot of love for Sakala as well in the live chat tonight as well. People saying we never should have got rid of him, etc., etc. There. Look, I mean, overall tonight, we've gone through, we've got the job done. It was a mature performance. I think that was the word Philippe Clement used about it. Before we move on, Keir, obviously now the Green at Morton versus Hearts game is tomorrow. The likelihood obviously is, even though it's at Morton, Hearts will probably win. They're in a good vein of form at the moment. So if it is Aberdeen, Hearts, Celtic, Rangers in the semi-finals, Keir, who would you like?
It's a hard one, isn't it? As I said earlier, I'd probably like to get Celtic, if I'm being honest, and some people might not agree in that, but I feel that it's the right time to kind of, pounce on that fixture. I feel that although Celtic have had, recent wins, they're in a sugary peg now, and I don't feel that they're present. I don't feel that they are as good, in the dressing room as Rodgers might be making out. And I think there's cracks there. And I think if we could take them in the semi-final, I think we would beat them. And ultimately, if you then move into a final against whoever it would be, Morton, Hearts, Aberdeen, I think we're going to that, as strong favourites. And sometimes it's better to get the hardest games done first, but then at the same time, beating Celtic in a final, it's never going to get much better than that. So I think we'll just need to wait and see. I don't think, unfortunately, Morton will get through. I think it could potentially, be Hearts. So, but yeah, I would take Celtic in the semi-final.
Okay, Lorah, who would you like in the semi-final?
I've got a very similar opinion. There's no much better football buzz than playing Celtic in a final. The build up, you wake up in the morning, just everything about it, the atmosphere is absolutely amazing. But I would rather get them out the way, because there's also the potential to get bet off them in the final, and that's a sore one to take. So me personally, I would rather get Celtic, get it out the way, and move into the final as strong favourites.
Yeah, I think I agree. I just think, with the way they're playing at the moment, they're not the same Celtic as last year. They're not Ange Postecoglou. I mean, look, we all don't like Postecoglou for obvious reasons, but even as a Rangers fan, you've got to admit that he was a brilliant coach. He was a great coach. He had them as a machine, as a winning machine that just kept on going and going and going. And that is not what you're seeing from them this year. They've got weaknesses at the back. They've got weaknesses in midfield. They've got weaknesses all over. They've got mentality issues for me. Yeah, I think, if we go I think get them out of the way, beat them in the semi-final, and then obviously go to play obviously Aberdeen or Hearts in the final. Depends obviously on who gets through that one. I think a lot depends on, again, like Keir said, it depends on see who we get. I can't help but feel at times when it gets to this stage that the SFA do slightly fix it. Maybe I didn't really say that, but you know what I mean by that. It does seem that it does seem that if they want an old firm final, they'll do the best they possible to get us an old firm final. But if they want someone other than one of the old firm, so both the old firm in a final, they'll kind of pair us off in the semi. It just seems to happen. I don't know. Perhaps I'm reading too much into that, but who knows? Yeah, we will have to wait and see who we get. Now, we go back to go forward again. Lorah, Thursday night, a much different performance in a much different atmosphere, in a very different set of circumstances. What was your take on the Benfica game on Thursday?
Can I just start, but before I go into my opinion, I think we should probably give a wee mention to the young guy that lost his life over there. Thomas, I'm sure his name is. Just obviously RIP, and thoughts go with the family, because you should never go to a game and not come back. So a big shout out to him. My thoughts in the game, we're a different team in Europe. Like I feel we play totally different in Europe. It was a wee bit shaky at times. I went in there, I would have been more than happy with a draw, but we took the lead twice. So then I was hungry for a win. I really was. But do you know what? A draw is fine. We'll take the draw. It was a happy game. I was up screaming, shouting at the telly. I went through every emotion, but I'm happy with it. And roll on Thursday. I think we can do this on Thursday.
Yeah, I mean, what was your take here on the game on Thursday?
Yeah, just what Laura said there. I've said this to my family a few times. Rangers in Europe, a different team. I mean, I think we're a really good advert. And there's times that I've met people, whether it be in a night out or wherever you would go, and it's almost as if it is two different teams, like totally. And that's not always a bad thing at the same time, because it's a good advert in Europe. And I think we really do show, the rest of the kind of world that, we are competitors. We're not just there to make the numbers up, etc. And I think obviously with the run the year before, that we've certainly proved that. But the other night, I thought Lawrence, took his goal well. I was really impressed with that. It's not normally you'd see that kind of the header from him. But I think it is hard, because you're in front twice, and ultimately, you lose those goals, and it is disappointing, and it's the what if, we should have won. However, Benfica are a good team. They're a good team, and for us to go there, and draw, is definitely not the end of the world. They have to come to Ibrox now, which is difficult for any team to come to Ibrox with the noise that's there. So I think we'll do it, and I think the players, and you've heard the manager talking about the fans trying to get in early, staying late, getting the sound into Ibrox, and I think that will definitely happen on this week. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, it was a very, very good performance. I think it was almost a free hit in a way, because I think a lot of people had written us off. People said, "Oh, well, you're not going to get anything against Benfica at the Estadio de la Luz." And I thought it was a really good performance. And you're right, both of you are right with what you say. We are a different team in Europe. I mean, if you consider that, in past years we've gone head to head and beaten the likes of, Borussia Dortmund, who are one of the powerhouses of European football, Leipzig, quality teams that. That are challenging their own leagues, in so-called stronger leagues. So yeah, we are a different proposition in Europe, and it's almost like the players kind of raise the standard massively when they go out into Europe. I suppose the disappointing yet encouraging thing was that we didn't actually concede a goal from open play, Keir.
Yeah, no, and I think. Obviously, with the kind of own goal as well, it's just one of those things, But to not concede an open goal, not an open play, sorry, and over there at Benfica, I think it's really, really good, you know. And just going back to earlier as well, the fact that we're a different team in Europe, you know, I'm just sitting here thinking that I think with the way that we've played, even under Giovanni and things like that, and now with Phil as well, we're obviously playing to a high standard of how they want to play the European type football. When you then try and play that football against St Mirren, or you try and play it, you know, away to Livingston, it's just not going to happen. The environment's not the same. Pitches are probably tighter over here, especially at St Mirren and Livingston, and you're not getting that chance. You know, teams are sitting back, they've got 11 men behind the ball, and that's maybe why that we're seeing almost these two sides to Rangers, because in Europe you're getting more time, teams aren't sitting back, you know, even the environment, the pitches, everything's just top-notch, top standard. So, but listen, I think we take it all day long and we go into it, and I think the players will be confident.
Yeah, I agree. And, you know, you're right. I think, you know, when we go to play in Europe, we come up against teams that want, for want of a better word, they want to play football. You know, you don't tend to come up against the low block in Europe. You don't tend to come across players that want to just kick you all the time, like you do with some of the Scottish teams. St Johnstone, for example, did the other day. You come up against a team that wants to try and play football against you. Yeah, I know Benfica, there was a lot of diving and falling about going on. But yeah, it is for me a chance we actually get to play our football. And with the players we've got, we have got some very good players. And I'm just sad, obviously, that Cantwell never got to play in that game, because I think Cantwell would have had a massive effect on that game had he played. But, you know, Lorah, going into, obviously, that game, I think, like I said to Keir, one of the most encouraging things is we never conceded from open play. And that gives us a huge confidence, I think, going into that game at Ibrox on Thursday.
I said that the other night as well. You know, unlucky. Goldson, I mean, we could see what he was trying to do, but I mean, that is his job. But we'll not go there. So, like the way they got their goals, it wasn't down to our bad performance, well, apart from Goldson, obviously. So that gives me a lot of confidence. And need to bear in mind as well, we have got to a final in the Europa League before. You know, I know, you know, we're very potentially up against harder teams. It's not the point. We've done it before. There's nothing to say we can't do it again. You know, we score in Europe. We play fantastic in Europe. And we play them coming to Ibrox on Thursday. I have got a lot of confidence. I think the players are going to have a lot of confidence. The fans have to show up, and you know they will. They will show up. So I don't fear Benfica on Thursday after last Thursday.
Absolutely. Now, one of the players that, I mean, there's a few players that stood. I mean, I think all the players played well on Thursday. You have to when you're playing against the likes of Angel Di Maria and Neves and Neres and so on and so on, and Cabral. But one of the players, Keir, that really stood out for me, and I know we've talked, you know, ad infinitum and praised this bloke loads, but how good was Jack Butland on Thursday night?
Oh, I mean, it's one of these kind of traditions that Rangers seem to keep going. We've been blessed near enough every single time, apart from probably the years in the kind of lower leagues, that we've had amazing goalkeepers. And I think ultimately, I mean, for him to come to us, which I believe, I could be wrong, on a free, you know, is unbelievable. The saves that was made, the command in the area of the box, his decision making as well, you know, when to come for the ball, when to stay put, you can't buy that. And, you know, I think these rumours about him potentially getting his England call up again, I mean, after that, I think he done well. I think when you're playing in that kind of stage, you've got to be considered. Everybody's going to make some kind of mistakes, you know, just like tonight. I know we're talking about Benfica again, but tonight there was that kind of moment, hairy moment on the ball within the 6-yard box. But I don't read too much into that at all. I mean, he's never really, you know, let us down. These things, we're only human. These things are going to happen, but I think he's the best signing in a long, long time, and he's potentially, obviously, the reason why we're not conceding, you know, these kind of goals is where we would have in the past.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. There's a comment here from Pure Loyalist says Butland was amazing. I saw a lot of Gorham in him. I mean, high praise indeed. Obviously, Andy Gorham, you know, probably the greatest Rangers goalkeeper of all time. Laura, what was your take on Butland on Thursday night?
Oh, he was absolutely incredible. See that double save, when it came back and grabbed it. I mean, that is world class talent. He was absolutely fantastic. And that could have been a totally different game without Butland on Thursday. After seeing his performance, it actually scared me a wee bit on how long we're actually going to be able to keep this guy. I would be surprised if he didn't get called up to England. I do think that is just rumours. I don't think any officials commit about that, but I would be very surprised if he doesn't. And Butland he's came out and said, he's not going anywhere. There's still a lot to be done at Rangers and he's happy where he is, but for how long? He is a world-class goalkeeper and his performance on Thursday was by far his best performance since he's been at Rangers. He was outstanding. I can't praise him enough. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, he was brilliant and he has been brilliant all season. Now, one of the major talking points from Thursday night was the penalty. Now, John Souttar goes up, he heads the ball and as Philippe Clement says, what the referees want, players to run around like penguins with their arms behind their backs all the time and jump with their arms behind their backs. He jumps, his arms go out, which when you jump, you use your arms to lever. That's what you do. His ball hits his head, then hits his arm, and I think then Butland caught it. I think that was the next move. Keir, I think we've got to take our blue tinted goggles off here for a minute. What was your take on that? Because I'll come to mine in a minute, but what was your take on that?
I think, obviously, if we're just going with the, arm positioning within the box and things like that, we all know that, you need to try and keep our arms down, where it's not going to affect the movement of the ball or come into play with the ball. But at the same time, when you're jumping, and you can't jump with your hands in your pockets. Do you know what I mean? You've got to. It's natural. Use momentum. It then obviously happens, and it obviously changes the path of the ball. At the end of the day, in black and white, that's what the referees are looking at. That's exactly what they're trying to see. Is this actually affecting play? And it is a hard one. It's hard to be given against us, but then if you're the opposite team, you're wanting that all day long. So yeah.
Okay, Laura, what was your take on it?
It was a penalty. I'm not even sure what the handball rule is anymore because it changes game to game. I thought, if it comes off the head, then the hand, then maybe it wouldn't be a penalty. But now, with you can't do anything wrong in the box. For me, as soon as I seen the replay, I was like, it's a penalty. Stonewall, once it went to VAR, and I knew it was going to come back as a penalty. He's handballed in the box, and that's it, unfortunately.
Yeah, so, I think there is. Yeah, sorry, Laura.
I know. I was just saying, for me, it is a penalty.
Yeah, I think the problem is, and I think Stuart says here, when the ball hits a part of your body, then onto your arm, it's not a penalty. I think the problem is that there's so much, and that might be the letter of the law with what Stuart says, but referees don't seem to understand what is a penalty, what isn't a penalty anymore when it comes to handball. It's so confusing. And when I was younger, I used to coach kids football. I used to referee games, and it had to be ball to hand, and it had to be to gain an advantage from that ball going to the hand. And it was a case of you moving your hand to the ball, not the ball being smashed at you or hit at you or anything like that. That was purely accidental. It was play on, and the rules were quite clear. But I think now the rules are so cloudy as to what is a penalty, and what you'll probably see is something very similar to what John Souttar did happening next week in one of the big leagues in Europe, or in the Europa League or the Champions League, and it won't be given. And then you'll see it a week later being given. And it just needs a consistency there for me, some sort of consistency of approach with handballs. Because as Philippe Clement himself says, he said, I don't know what a handball is. Now, for someone like Philippe Clement, who is, a football monster, as he says himself, someone who thinks about football all the time, to not understand the offside rule, not understand the handball rule, and what is a handball, it's just showing how it needs clearing up, and it needs to be, put into some sort of perspective and some sort of clear judgment for referees, because it's going to end up costing somebody a major game. It's going to end up costing somebody their job at the end of the day, and one of the managers. So it does need a big clear up. Now, the other encouraging thing from Thursday night, the two goals that we scored, both excellently worked. Both fantastic moments of football. I mean, the Diomande cross for the Lawrence header was excellent. The link-up play between Ridvan and Silva to create a chance for Dujon. Just top-class football, Keir.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, as we say, we need to remember the team that we're playing against, and to play those kind of passes and for Diomande to have that vision as well. Because when you actually watch that back, you know, the box is pretty empty, and he's almost got his head down, and it's natural instinct just putting that into the middle, and just hoping that somebody's there. And ultimately, I think he's showing his worth. I'm a big fan of him. But when you look at the Sterling one as well, I watched the Benfica players, and they're almost kind of standing on their heels. And they're kind of like, what just happened there? And for us to be playing that kind of to level, for me I was over the moon with it. But kind of on to Silva as well. I think he's an absolute workhorse. I really, really like him. I think he does a lot of kind of, again, a bit different, not the same as Lundstrom obviously as a winger, or he's playing in the wing just now, but he does seem to have that fight, determination. But I would just like to see him kind of taking his chances as well. Not that he had kind of too many, but I know, really impressed with the standard. As I say, Diomande's vision and that bit of play was amazing.
It was fantastic. But I think a lot of people have said, you know, the one thing that impressed them about Diomande with that ball was the fact that he didn't do what a lot of players would do, which is just smash it across the face of the goal and hope it goes in. It was the vision to look up, pop it, and then hit the ball perfectly with the right pace on it, the right spin on it. So all Lawrence had to do was just connect his head with it. Laura, how impressed were you with the calibre of football from those two goals?
Both of them were fantastic. I've watched them back quite a few times now. The link up, the assists, the finish, perfect. They're absolutely immaculate and beautiful to watch, and I have watched them quite a few times now. Thoroughly impressed with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, obviously, Thursday's going to be huge, massive, and Ibrox hopefully will be absolutely rocking, and I think we have the talent to overcome them. One thing that does slightly worry me, Keir, is I think we're going to need a strong ref, because I don't know about you, but there was an awful lot of play acting going on from Benfica on Thursday night. A lot of throwing themselves around. Angel Di Maria, for me, was lucky to stay on the pitch as well.
Oh, I mean, I don't know if it's the Scottish bit coming out, but I just find it absolutely embarrassing when players are rolling about like that. It just wastes everything about the game. You know, it kind of puts it to shame sometimes. They're deliberately trying to make us lose momentum. They're obviously, I mean, for me, it was actually that much that you're wondering to yourself, have they spoken about this? Is this almost a kind of deliberate tactic mindset to try and, you know, disturb how we were playing? I think our ref needs to come in and totally control, because what I've seen, I don't know if he had too much control in the game the other night, but I think there's something that needs to come in with an iron fist, absolutely rule it out. As soon as the first person is doing that, they need booked, because at the end of the day, it's the only way you've got to stamp it out. And I just hope there's not as much of that, because it's no good to see it, let's be honest. And for the younger kids and things like that watching it, you know, it's just making them think that that's the way to go, and it's not what football's about.
Absolutely, 100% agree. And there, Laura, what was your take on the play acting and the rolling around of Benfica?
Aye, pretty much the exact same as Keir. You know, I think the ref should nip it in the bud straight away. Don't keep allowing it to go on. It's embarrassing to watch. It's embarrassing. Like we're saying as well, for the younger kids, the younger players, this isn't what they want to look up to. Grown men rolling about the ground because a finger has touched them. It's embarrassing, and I do think that the refs have to step in and put an end to it. You know, if they set the standard straight away that, you know, we're not having this, they'll stop doing it. But they don't. Again, the refs, they let it happen. It's just not nice to watch at all, is it? It ruins the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Blue Baron says if we play like we did in the first half against Benfica, we'll be fine. Stephen Clark says unfortunately they are trained in the dark arts. Stephen Gillespie says what's called Pierluigi Collina up to take charge on Thursday. Unfortunately, I think he's about 70 odd years old now. I don't think he'll be able to be able to do it anymore. he was scary. He was very scary, old Pierluigi Collina. Now, Look, it's going to be a huge night. Ibrox will be absolutely buzzing on Thursday night. Keir, are you confident we can do it? And have you got a prediction on the score?
I know it's easy to sit here as a Rangers fan, and as we said, blue tinted specs on, but I think we will. I think how we played over there, the confidence, how slick some of the football was, to then come with 50,000 behind you, and we all know what the European nights are like. The players walking out to that roar, that sound, they can only be excited and buzzing to play there. I think we'll do it, and I think it'll be a hard game. I don't think I don't think we're going to go and ultimately run them over. But I'm hoping I think it'll be 2-1 Rangers.
100%. Yeah, good prediction. Laura, are you confident we can do it Thursday night? And have you got a prediction?
I'll keep it short and sweet. I am confident we can do it, and my prediction's the exact same, 2-1, definitely. And I cannot wait.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm confident we can do it. I think with the atmosphere, with Ibrox as it is, looking back at the run to Seville, and the fact that played, how the fans played such a role in that. Ibrox is an intimidating place to come, and even Gary Neville and Roy Keane have said that when they came up here with Manchester United in the past. So I'm going to say, yeah, we can do it, and I'm going to go for a repeat of the Leipzig game. I'm going to go for a 3-1 to Rangers on Thursday night. Well, guys, it's been fantastic chatting all things Rangers with you. Wife's just coming and said, apparently I'm famous for Stephen's wife. There we go. Thank you to everyone in the live chat for your comments. Thank you for all your takes on that and all the questions. Everything you've said has been fantastic. Like we always say, this wouldn't be anything without you guys in the live chat putting your in. It's one thing I've always aimed with this channel is get you guys involved. It's your channel as much as it is ours. Keir, what are your final thoughts, and is there anything you want to plug?
No, listen, this is the kind of first time I've done something like this, and it's been an absolute pleasure. And it's good to come on and talk to like-minded people as well. So no, I'm just absolutely lamented to be asked on, and it would be a pleasure to come back, hopefully. But thanks again, and it's been amazing.
Absolutely, 100%. And Keir, anywhere people can find your music and listen to your music?
Yeah, so I'm on mostly TikTok. I'm on Facebook as well, and I've just recently started my YouTube channel. So kind of re-recorded the Jack Butland and Goal song, and I've also got my new song out, which I wrote, called Rangers and Proud, which is on Spotify and iTunes as well. So you can check that out if you wish.
Absolutely, 100%. And yeah, what I'll do is I've found your YouTube channel here, Keir. I'll drop a link to it in the description box for this podcast as well. Not a problem.
Thank you very much.
Laura, no problems. Laura, is there anything that you want to plug or any final thoughts?
I'm going to put the spotlight back onto Keir. Please go and look at his TikTok. His songs are absolutely amazing. The new one, Rangers and Proud, it's a brilliant song. He's got a fantastic voice. Go and give him a wee follow. Keir, you're welcome on anytime. We're more than happy to have you back on. It's been great. And like I say every week, well, I've been saying every week for a while now, we're on a high, so just please stay on this high.
No, listen, thanks very much for the invite, and the support is amazing. So it's really much appreciated.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you to Keir and to Laura. Yeah, we'll be back obviously the next week when I've had a chance to get my head round about when I'm not working and when people are free. As always, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to everybody. And on the way out, there's always two things I ask of you. Number one is to smash the like, and number two is to remember, never forget, we are the people.